Desperado, why don't you come to your senses? Come down from your fences, open the gate. It may be raining, but there's a rainbow above you. You better let somebody love you. Let somebody love you. You better let somebody love you before it's too late.
So you're probably thinking, really? Desperado? What the heck? Or some other word. So it's an Eagles song. So those of us who are the age that we would know of the Eagles. So have you ever ridden any fences? Are you riding any fences? Anybody? Maybe not yet. It's only 10:27, but right? We ride fences because we think we're going to be safe, and that's what the song's about. The book series we're doing is Daring Greatly, and Brené Brown has the words in here, and she wants us to talk about them and talk about our lives and talk about our feelings and talk about our shame and the guilt that keeps us stuck. Because only when we choose to dare greatly, some might say that you're bold. I can hear my grandmother, my Irish grandmother, who was about this tall and about this big all the way around. And you're so bold, And great, thank you, Grandma, that I knew that I was so young and that I still are, right? As opposed to am. Can you be audacious? Can you go to the depth of who you are and say, okay, this is me, take it or leave it? The sign out front said what? The talk today was about, right? So I'm enough, you're enough, there is enough, we have enough, like don't talk to me that way, show up on time, whatever it is that we need to do to set up the parameters. We could just listen to all those songs again and then just go home, right? Reverend Rose reminded me this morning, you're done at 10:45. I get so excited when I'm up there, I just keep talking. So Michael, thank you for the meditation. Yes? Isn't that voice just like, wow? When I first heard it, I'm like, you need to be doing meditations, He said, I already do. I'm like, oh, well, silly me. So the point of the meditation was peace, be still. We cannot get still. We cannot know the truth of who we are or who we're supposed to be, what we've come here to do, if we're just busy, or we just have a lot of noise going on. And sometimes you can be an ultimate quiet, but the busyness in your mind, yes, keeps going. We call that monkey mind. We call it the roommate from last year, right? Last year's series. The roommate that doesn't pay rent, like, excuse me, time to leave. Yes? Be quiet. Or you can say, thank you very much for sharing, and I'm not listening. Acknowledge it and send it on its way. So one of the songs was, I'm in the right place at the right time. How do we know? 'Cause we're here. Hello? Let's not fight reality. This is where you're supposed to be in this now moment. We are grateful that you're here. We are so grateful. Just where I'm supposed to be. So in any moment as the day progresses and you're in it, and we breathe, right? Because sometimes you're like, really? I'm supposed to be here? Yeah? Yeah, you're supposed to be there. Now we get to figure out what in that moment, what in this situation, what in this dialogue, what in this class, what in the heck am I supposed to be learning? I'm not sure. For you, all I can do is figure out what's right for me. When someone says they have your answers, say thank you very much and run. Nobody has your answers. No one but you and the God of your understanding. Grace of God is sufficient. Do we know that? That's what that girl sang. Wow, did that just go out of my brain? Renee said, right? The grace of God sufficient, and God is at home. Home is where? Inside. That's the only place. And as a vagabond for the last 4 years, I have to make sure that my home is where I am. Because I don't always have some place that is just mine. So if I can take my home with me, then wherever I am, I can be grateful and I can be at home. With my faith, I see the light. That's another one of those words. And at home, in my family of origin, I'm called I'm see the light sister. Oh, here comes I see the light sister. And they always do this, So what does that mean? With my faith, I see the light. That means no matter what. So this morning at O Dark 100, which was about 4:44, I wake up, see the light. I see the clock, 4:44, which of course is very significant in time. It means angels are present, at least for me. And so I'm like, really, God? I'm supposed to get up at 4:44? Okay, get up. So could I still see the light, as you're stumbling around, because I'm dog sitting, so I don't even know this person's house. Can I know that there's going to be light, or that as I feel along the wall, I'm going to find at least the light switch? So there's the source. So if we can't feel the light or be the light, do we know where the source of light is? And do we know the source of light is all that is great, all that is good, all that is the truth of who we are? That's what we get to remember. We get to release and let go. That was another one of the songs. Every single moment, every single breath, as often as necessary, release it and let it go. As I'm moving this week, I think, really? I said to Reverend Rose this morning, how can a person have so much stuff in just one room? As I take another load out to the car, why am I holding on to what I'm holding on to? I don't have that answer, but it'll come as I release and I let go and have a garage sale. So the desperado, we've been out riding fences for so long now. Now it seems to me some fine things have been laid upon your table, but you only want the ones that you can't get. Oh, that sucks. Right? Think about it. If you only want what you can't have, you're never going to be happy. You're never going to know. So what I know, because of course I would love that my husband was here, but he's not here. He's with God. Got his angel wings. Darn it. So I can't have that physicality. So I've got to have what I have, which is you all right now, which this morning was Reverend Rose, which later on today is the lady that's going to help me move my stuff. So we get to want what we have, period. There's no negotiating that, because otherwise what you're going to have is upset, disappointment, mad, sad, whatever else all those ucky-poo type of emotions are. So we get to decide. Nobody else decides for us. You are never what's wrong with me. I'm only ever what's wrong with myself if I'm having an issue, or an issue, as someone might say, right? Because I can't be other-directed. You can have no influence over me. I allow you to have an influence over me. That's the shift as we look in this and we pull it apart and we unpack it and we understand, wow, I have been making some really not good choices, or I've been making some really great choices. We get to decide. But what we do is as we show up authentic, then we invite the other person to be authentic with us in each moment. Doesn't mean we allow any type of abuse or oversharing and some of those other things that we learn about skills in here. But what we get to know is, and it says in this song, your prison is walking through this world all alone. Anyone feel alone ever? Yeah? So then we get to shift our minds and say, wait a minute. I'm not alone. I could go over to Susie Q's house or Johnny's house or, whoever's house, right? And then I wouldn't be alone. And we've all been in crowds and felt alone, yes? Where's the aloneness? Inside. And so that's what we get to figure out. What is making me feel alone and lonely? And I'm telling you, I think about it all the time because I get there. And I think, well, I wouldn't be alone if Tom was alive. Okay, Therese, call that crazy, right? You can call me crazy if you want, because it is crazy making, isn't it? When we want something that is not possible, or we want something that is just not on our path right now. Desperado, why don't you come to your senses? And the senses means that you move from your head to your heart. Get into the consciousness of loving what is. Come down from your fences. Open the gate. Oh my gosh. Imagine what happens when you open the gate because you're down from the fence. Possibilities. You might get run over by some horses, right? Or you might walk into a beautiful meadow. Or what you guys experienced, right? Many, out at Yellowstone. Imagine how great once the gate was open. So the gate in that example, would have been them saying, yes, we're going to tag on to our retreat time going to Yellowstone. No, we've never been there. We've never traveled together. Fern and Reverend Rose never traveled together. But they opened the gate. So that's what it looks like when you start unpacking words of songs, or metaphysically when we do that with the Bible. What does it mean? It may be raining, but there's a rainbow above you. And rainbow is the promise that all is well, even in the midst of the storms, right? So I know today there will be no rain and no rainbows because I'm going to be moving, and I'll be grateful. Unless there isn't. Because I won't be able to change it, right? I'm powerful, but I'm not that good, seriously, right? You better let somebody love you before it's too late. That somebody starts with ourselves, and then, as appropriate, or as you're willing, then you allow someone else in your life. But that somebody love you has to be you, so that it never gets too late. We have to love ourselves enough so that somebody else loves us. If we don't like the way we look, why would somebody else like the way we look? Seriously. If I didn't like my red hair, why would somebody else like my red hair? So then I could make it a different color, I guess. Boy, that would be a challenge, right? Yeah, I remember, I think I might have shared this before. I was about 19 or 20 or something like that, and I had somebody come up to me in a store in Chicago, Marshall Fields or one of those, and say to me, wow, you have a lot of freckles. Thanks for noticing. No, I probably didn't say that, and I was like, because I was not yet into unity, so I probably would have said something else, like, I didn't ask you. Yeah. And why don't you use porcelana? Remember that product, porcelana? Those of us who are older know that. It would remove your dark marks. Really? Imagine how much I'd have to use. Just in the places you see, right? And I just looked at her. I said, why would I do that? This is who I am. I could never have freckles. I just couldn't live with myself. And I thought, guess who's not my friend anymore? You, right? So that would be the time when you say, enough. Thank you for sharing, or maybe not. I probably didn't. I probably didn't even give them the international peace sign. I probably just said enough, and walk away. So we've been talking about this book. We're in the 3rd week of it. So we've already discovered that we don't get to listen to another one who is being critical. Or even when our mind gets critical, we just shut it off. Shut it down. Stop. As they say, shut the front door, right? Be in the arena. Get involved in something that makes you on fire. Give yourself away to a worthy cause, whatever that is. It can be here at church. It could be cleaning up after our great sandwich Sunday. It could be helping with the yard work. It could be somewhere else in the community. Give yourself away to a worthy cause. Last week we talked about reframing, right? And then reclaiming the truth. So I'm going to look at a situation, okay? I'm moving yet again. I think this is the 7th time in 4 years. So I'm going to reframe it to I get to move. Even while I'm gritting my teeth, I'm going to work on my mind to change it. This is a this is a benefit, Therese. Not sure what the benefit is yet, but I'm going to faith it till I make it. That's what we have to do. We get to become shame resilient, which means whatever was. Let it go. We can't change yesterday. All we have is this moment, and it's called the present, and that's why it's a gift. We have no idea what's going to happen tomorrow or this afternoon or even at noon. We don't know what kind of sandwich makings are out there, so don't get attached to that. But for the things that maybe we feel less than, let it go. And for me right now, what has come up this week, interestingly enough, I got a little bit of cash, and I thought, I'm going to pay off my credit cards. I have 2 little credit card balances. Let me just see zeros. So I did, and I was so proud of myself and on my statement, on Bank of America online, it's on my bank accounts, and then 0, 0. And I'm like, yes, feels good. And within 24 hours, I had no credit cards because I was in foreclosure. I have had so much shame about that. Like, I don't want to tell anybody that of course I tell everybody, I had foreclosure. But so I call at Bank of America, and I'm like, what do you mean? We've had this relationship for 15 years. You closed my card? He said, you have horrible credit. I said, duh. But I haven't been unfaithful to you. I'm sorry. I said, I hope you can sleep tonight. And I hung up. That was after 4 hours and lots of tears. So the shame is, don't ask me to buy something for you because I can't with a credit card. But I can use my debit card. So I had to shift and sit with myself and say, wait a minute, who cares if you don't have a credit card? You have cash. And someone who doesn't want cash, you don't want to do business with. Right? So I don't know when I'll get a credit card again. I don't know that. And they were like, well, this is... I wish Leslie was here because the bank guy says, well, maybe you need to take some kind of a prosperity clause. I said, sir, I teach it. This isn't about what I'm doing with my money. It's about getting the money, which I got, and I chose to give it to you. Silly me. I don't ever regret in my life. Now I'm regretting that I gave you, Bank of America, my money, and of course it wasn't him. But I said to him, you know what, I think I'll tell my minister that maybe I need to do something about prosperity. So I know that prosperity works, and that's why we work it, and we'll hear about that later on today. So let go the shame. I don't know what it is for you, but let it go. Speak about it to somebody so it feels okay. I hadn't spoken about it with anybody, and then I talked with Reverend Rose this morning, and I thought, I think I can do this. I think I can admit, this is how I feel. Loser, right? Get over it. Just get over it. Because we get to be bonded. Remember last week we talked about that bondage or liberty? I'm going to be free. I don't have a credit card. Ha, ha, ha. Right? Na, 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 boo, boo. Right? So she goes on to define, I define vulnerability as uncertainty, risk, and emotional exposure. So as I think about applying to churches, they do a financial background on you. And I realized, maybe that's why I'm not applying to churches, because I'll be exposed. So I'm dealing with that. She says the ultimate aim of every man should be to come, every woman, every person, should be to come into consciousness of an indwelling God. I love that she's not really technically a unity person, but that she knows that. That's where we have to be. Inside me is God. And so God, as Therese, is so wealthy. I don't know if God has a credit card. Guess what? Theresa's God doesn't have a credit card right now. So I'm over it. The scripture that I chose for today is from Philippians, and it's chapter 4, verses 8 and 9. Finally, brothers, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is just, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is commendable, if there is any excellence, if there is anything worthy of praise, think about these things. What you have learned and received and heard and seen, practice these things, and the God of peace will be with you. So when we look at that, the God of peace, that means the consciousness of peace. Would it be okay if you were peaceful all the time? Anybody? Would that be all right? Yeah? I think so. So we get to figure out, it always comes back to what we're thinking and how we're thinking it. And then the thoughts become what? Words. And we can never take back words, can we? So we have to concentrate on that before we, make someone else who's wrong with us. Eric Butterworth, who is a longtime Unity minister and also has his angel wings, I bet you he and Tom are having some really fantastic conversations right now. I would love that. That's a great thought for me. So it's about discovering the power within. It's inside. And Martha Creek always says, go within or you go without. You go without pleasure, you go without happiness, you go without peace, or you go without to fill that void, which could be drugs, sex, rock and roll, whatever it all is. And not that it's all bad, but how do you fill yourself up when you feel maybe alone? So he says, Eric Butterworth, God's will is the ceaseless longing of the Creator to fulfill itself in and through and as us. It's a big job. That's what God wants every day. And God, again, the word God could be all that is, living, loving presence, whatever word you use for something that's bigger and greater than you. And we're the only ones here doing that work. God's will for us is a perfect life, perfect wisdom, and perfect love. How great is that? But do we allow it? Meister Eckhart, who is a 13th century, I believe, mystic, the spiritual life is not a process of addition, but rather of subtraction. We get that as we get older, yes? Like, I don't need all this stuff anymore, and I, 7 dresses, 7 pants, whatever, that kind of ritual. But I remember in my 20s and 30s and 40s, it was about accumulation. And thank God I bought well when I bought well, because what I have still is with me, That's great. But now, how can we share it? How can we figure out? And that also is kind of the whole story about the Michelangelo unveiling the David. David was already in the marble. But as Michelangelo, did his chipping away, it was obvious then that David was going to be revealed, because Michelangelo, who was one of the many, many, many people he was commissioned, would be the word, to come and do this work. And lots of them were like, I can't do it. No, I'm not doing it. And he said yes. So he just thought to himself, I'm going to reveal all that already is in that marble. And look at the beautiful statue of David that came out of that. So how often, I thought, after I was doing this talk this week, maybe I'm going to get a little chisel, like get a really cool one at the store and just carry it with me and go, oh, this is my job. I'm just going to keep chiseling away physically at myself as I release, but also, thank you, Deb, and also everything else that is not serving me, that doesn't make Therese the best Therese. So there's some of the shields in here that she talks about. Perfectionism. Anybody have that shield? I'm going to be perfect. Yes? Okay. So let's just talk about that for it. First of all, perfectionism, she says, is a defensive move about trying to earn approval. I am what I accomplish and how well I accomplish. I can just see me as a little girl going, look at me, look at me, look at me, all that I did, so I could get approval, right? So freedom from perfectionism requires making the long journey, and that's often from our head to our heart, and from what will people think to, I don't care what people think, I'm enough. I think we can all take that journey. And if we can't, then ask somebody, can you help me? I'm stuck in this. Will you help me remember the truth of who I am? Self-compassion, another shield. How much do you take care of yourself? Numbing is the shield, and self-compassion is the antidote for that. So when we numb, we do that maybe with outside things or negative self-talk. And then what we get to say is, you know what? Enough. I'm enough, and enough of that upstairs here, right? The shadow, which we don't talk much about in Unity, but of course I'm forcing into every conversation I can have with anybody who's a Unity leader, because it's a part of us that we just haven't seen yet, or we haven't developed yet. It doesn't have to be a negative. So we get to decide, how will we embrace all of us, the complete package that is each of us. She says, when you shut down vulnerability, you shut down opportunity. Think about it. When someone approaches you and you say no, you haven't even listened yet to what they said, right? So close your outer eyes as we end today. And let's think of the words that Michael said, peace, be still. When we're agitated or upset, we can just say, peace, be still. When we're agitated and upset, we get to say, peace, be still again. When we're feeling judged or we're judging, we get to say to ourselves, peace, be still. And we can say to ourselves, my peace does not depend on others. It only depends on me. So let's say that. My peace does not depend on others. It depends on me. So we can say over and over and over, peace be still. And God, we invite you to have your way in and through us this week as we know the truth of who we are, the very beloved of you, expressing here in physical form, knowing that as we dare greatly to be all that we have come here to be, we can still balance all our greatness with our peace be still moments. For this and all of our blessings, we are grateful. Amen.